Everyone, welcome to Franka's Fab Family. I am Franka, and on this video I am going to show you how I cook dinner. The kids are literally out to school and I'm about to pick them up in an hour or so. So before I do that, I have to make sure that we have dinner ready because sometimes they come home famished. So I am going to cook chicken 2 ways. So you're going to see a meal chicken 2 ways and 3 side dishes. So let's get cracking. Okay, this is my freezer. So this time around, I just took out 2 parcels. Many times I can't tell what the meat is, but I will know the difference between the chicken and the beef and the salmon and the fish. But because I had already pre-prepared all the meals in my head, whichever one the first, that's what we're having. Okay, I'm gonna quickly give you a rundown of all the ingredients that I have. I am making 2 chicken meals and 3 side dishes. So these are some of the ingredients. I am making some spicy fried chicken, so I need some flour. And for that chicken, remember I told you the Caribbean, the green seasoning is a base. So if you just cook this 2 different ways, they would taste the same. Very good, very flavorful, but they will taste the same. Sometimes you could just cook this and that's one flavor in itself. But we want it to taste different. So here come the dried spices. So for the fried chicken, I am going to add a teaspoon of chili powder, a teaspoon of ground cumin and coriander mix. Sometimes you get them together, and some adobo. Remember, the chicken already have a little bit of salt from the seasoning. Go and check out my video to learn how to make the Caribbean green seasoning. It'll walk you through that whole process. So that's already been done, but we're now adding different flavors to it. So that's for the fried chicken meal. And then now I have a curry. I'm having a guest over, so I need a little bit more food than the children and I would normally have if it was just us. So I'm making a curry. And in this curry, I have several curries, powders. So here I have, this is a ground masala. This is turmeric. No, I'm sorry. This is a curry powder. This is a curry powder. 2 tablespoons of curry powder. 1 teaspoon of turmeric. 1 teaspoon of black pepper. A teaspoon of hot chili pepper. This one's going to be kind of spicy. Some adobo. And this now is just cumin. And this is a 7 spice. It's a ground masala. And for the fresh items, I have some ginger. This is how the ginger looked before you peel it. It's a root vegetable. It actually looked like this. So I took a piece of, I guess a finger. You know, like a potato that grew out eyes, but the ginger, it has little bits. So I took a finger off of it. So then I peeled it. It's easy to peel with a spoon, and then I cubed it. And then I'm just gonna put this here. And then I have 6 cloves of garlic. Remember, the seasoning already have massive garlic, but I am elevating the flavor from its base flavor of the green seasoning. So I add 6 garlic. I'm adding 1.5 small onions, small to medium. If you have 1 big onion, then 1 onion is good enough. And then I'm having mushrooms. I'm adding 10 baby portobello mushrooms. Sorry. I'm going to show you how I cut that up. Asparagus and rice, and then lime juice for the curry. I'm cutting up the okra on a slant. I always cut off the top part. So you cut off that little head part, and then you cut off the other end, the 2 ends, and then I cut it on the side. If it's a little big, you'll cut 2 or 3. And then for the mushrooms, this is baby portobellos. I just sliced them up. I just sliced them all up. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to cook the rice first. The reason why I'm going to cook the rice first is once you prepare the rice, you push it to the back burner and it just sits there for 20 to 30 minutes depending on what kind of rice that you have, or if you have a rice cooker. At least that's 1 dish out of the way. You don't need to do anything else with the rice. So I have a medium pan on the stove. I'm going to put a little bit of oil. I learned this from my wonderful Latin friends. You fry the salt. This is a little too hot. I was over there doing something, so when I ran over here, yeah, you actually saute the salt a little bit. It gives it a slightly different flavor. I also decided to add some carrot to the rice. This is a half a carrot. You could add the whole carrot as well, so it's going to be carrot rice instead of plain rice. It's just another way to give the children another serving of vitamins and vegetables. I have some water here boiling because after I do all of that, I will saute the carrots now. Because I've added carrots in it now, I probably can put a little bit of onion. I'm going to get just a little bit of onion. Remember, I had all the onions already chopped up for the meat. So I'll just put a little bit of onion. A little bit of oil. Saute that a little bit. Lower this bad boy down. Here. I'm gonna add the rice. No water yet. No water yet. This is 2 cups of rice. 2 cups of rice. We really don't measure things. I don't know, in the islands we don't measure things like that. Like, we learn how to cook by our mother and grandmother or our aunts or whoever, and many of our dads and uncles as well. We learn how to cook by just tasting and knowing the blend of the flavors. So when you really start to cook more and frequently, you would know how that flavor palette kicks in, unless of course you're in a restaurant. But this is good old-fashioned home cooking taking place right here. The water's almost about to boil, so it already has those base bubbles. So I can actually pour it in, raise this temperature up, turn that off, raise this temperature up. You can read the rice package, whatever their rice water to rice ratio is, but I know this rice. This is the basmati rice, which is the Indian rice, and it smells so wonderful, and I love the taste. So I will taste to see if I have enough salt. I'll just put a pinch more, just a pinch. It was right there. And then that's it. I will now put this on the slow burner. You know how many oil stoves you have a very small little burner? You put your rice on that one. Slow. And you put it to go. And that's it. That's one dish done. So I'll turn off the stove. I'm going to get the next dish for you. So here we are on to the next dish. The reason why I'm choosing the curry chicken next is that after I prepare this, it just sits in the back for about 20 minutes and slowly simmer like the rice. So then that dish gets out of your way. You can start on another dish. So I will put some oil to saute the onions and the garlic. I would say maybe for this amount of chicken, for this curry, I would say 2 teaspoons. Or, you know, you're not frying, you're sauteing, so you don't need that much. I just use a good olive oil. So, and then I will add the onions. We did not hear the sss because the pan was not hot enough. So I'll let it heat up a little bit more. I have the spoon. A nice way to keep your countertops clean when you're cooking, a lot of people tend to take, the spoon, you're stirring everything in, and they put it, I'm talking while the oil heats up, and they put it on the counter. But if your spoon is dirty, your counter is now dirty, your stove is now dirty. So you can get yourself a spoon rest. It's an easy way to keep the germs, so that way you just put it in the dishwasher or you put it in the sink and you clean it. So you're hearing the onions going now. Just starting to hear it. This is making too much noise, so I am going to get a wooden spoon. Okay, I got the wooden spoon. So you're not going to hear all that clanking in your ear. But the onions are now soft. Lower that down now. When some people saute their curry, what we call cook the curry in Trinidad, and some people don't. They just put the curry on the chicken and then cook it that way or whatever. But in any event, I'm doing it this way. So I will add everything. Then I will add the ginger whole like this. The ginger flavor actually cooks away the sauce. So if I can find them, I'll pick them out. But the children know by now, so when they get one in their mouth, they will just pick them out. And then I add the garlic. And then all of the spices that I told you earlier. It's a little dry, so I would add a little bit more oil. All of the curry spices and the masala and the onions and the garlic and the ginger have now toasted up. So I'm going to add the chicken. That's already base seasoned, but it has a totally different flavor palette. At this stage now, because I am using chicken breast and chicken thighs cut up very small, it doesn't need to cook that long. It's not like it's a big chunk of chicken. Each piece is small. So after about you stir it and you see that all of the dry toasted seasoning have like crusted over the chicken, I would take, you can use water. I grew up with my mother and my family always using water. You would add a cup of liquid. This time I'm adding a good chicken stock. Then I stir now, and then I don't taste the chicken yet. I'm gonna wait, let it like simmer down and cook together now, but we always go back and taste it, because that's when you would know this chicken stock had a little bit of salt. So I didn't add salt yet because the green seasoning had some salt, the adobo had some salt, and the chicken stock had some salt. So even though I measured the portion well, I don't want to put more. So I'll let it cook a little bit, and when the chicken gets safe that I can taste it, then I would taste the gravy, and then I would alter if I need to alter then. But pretty much been making this for years, so we should be jamming. It smells so good. Right? Now that I'm finished with this dish, to make space for the other dishes, I would now rotate this to the back. Always leave your handles on the sides, because remember, when children and stuff are running around, if that handle is facing forward and it's poking out, this one had turned off in error. So now I have the rice halfway done now, and now I have the chicken going, and I am going to get the next dish. I already cut the edges off. This is the next side dish. Jordan really loves asparagus, so I tried to make sure that in every single meal, every child is getting like their favorite of something. Luke really likes the curry. Anaya loves rice, like that's her thing, so that's why she would eat more rice. So if you put some vegetable in there, she gets vegetables as well. So here's the asparagus. It's already cleaned and I cut off the end. Same thing with this green seasoning. When I tell you this green seasoning is green gold for every single dish. So I would put some in the bottom, and then I will put the asparagus. I haven't put any salt or anything. Oh, it's a little too long. It's not long. It's too long to fit in there. So I'm going to cut some off. But because this is fresh, I don't want to waste the little bits. So I will have long bits as well as short bits in it. So these are still good. You put that in after. Let me see if it'll hold now. Because I'm going to bake these. You can have another row. I'm going to bake it. Someone like Gabriel, he would like it like this. So I'll put them in here now and toss them around in the green seasoning. Remember, the green seasoning, again, if you go and take a look at the video, is nothing but garlic, onion, at least 6 different kind of peppers in this one, celery, thyme, cilantro, parsley. It's just really healthy goodness. It's just packed with so many vitamins and nutrients. So as you can see, it'll look like that. But I had these extras, so I'm gonna pour these in between. Or, because I like the way they look toasted, I changed my mind. I am going to leave them long and then put all the small bits over here. I'm gonna wash my hands. I'm gonna put all of that in. And then I'm gonna drizzle just a little bit of good olive oil so it doesn't stick. I'm not gonna put this in the oven just yet because this doesn't take very long. So it's ready though, but I'm gonna leave it, you know, on the side, and I'm going to start the next dish, because all you have to do is put this in the oven for the last 10 minutes of the curry chicken. So after you open the chicken, you taste it, you decide, okay, it only need a little bit more time. That's when you put the asparagus in the oven. The next thing I am going to do, I am going to saute the onions, the mushrooms, I'm sorry. That's another meal, that's another side dish. I really like mushrooms, and my guest is coming. She really like mushrooms. So the kids, but they do have to at least taste just one or two, because what happened, when you get them to at least taste one or two, they become familiar with it, and I find that that's how my kids ended up eating so many things. Because I would have like yummy. Imagine we had pizza, and then I'm like, okay, we have broccoli, but you can only get one slice of pizza. You can get 2 slices of pizza if you eat 1 piece of broccoli. So in time, their palate had already developed a liking for a lot of things, a lot of flavor. So I'm going to saute the mushrooms. I'm going to show you that over at the stove. Here we go to the next dish. I already prepared the asparagus. Let me check on the chicken. Let me check. It's good. It's a little spicy. It might be a little spicy for the children. But a trick for that is yogurt. Plain yogurt. If you ever have plain yogurt with spicy food, it brings the heat content down so much. And the children really like that as well. They eat a lot of yogurt. So the next thing we're going to do is, yogurt has just been added to our dinner plate today. Just because it was a little bit too much pepper. So that's almost done though. I can put the asparagus in the oven. That's at 350. I have another cost-saving tip for you. My aunt, when I was growing up, she baked everything. If she was putting on her oven, a regular oven like this, she baked everything, including the rice. So she would have put the mushrooms in an oven dish, the rice, the chicken. That's the time we normally used to get like a cake or something, like a macaroni pie that we call it, or mac and cheese doing the oven. But my aunt never put on the oven to just cook one thing, because she said you're using the stovetop gas and you're using the oven gas, you're using twice as much. Whereas if you just put everything in the oven, everything can cook in that one surface at one time. So, but that really does work. So however, I'm going to use both just to save time. We like grilled asparagus. So I am now going to do some sauteed mushrooms. My kids eat mushrooms as well. They're 6, 9, and 14. 2 6-year-olds, a 9-year-old, and a 14-year-old. And they eat all of these things that you see. So I am going to let the oil heat up a little bit. What I have for the mushroom is some beef stock, the green seasoning, of course, and onion, and then some olive oil. I just threw onions all over the stove, but because the stove is clean, okay, that's too much in there. That's okay. I will saute the onion. Remember, this is fresh seasoning, so it's also green. Remember, I told you that this seasoning, well, if you go back and watch the making of the seasoning show, or the making of many of the meat packaging videos that we did, you will see that I said that this seasoning is not only good for just protein, like meats or whatever, but it's also good for, of course, protein, the beans and things like that, but it's good in your side dishes. It all depends on what flavor you put in. That's why Caribbean food is just really packed with flavor. Packed with flavor. I'm going to put the mushrooms in now. It might seem a little dry. Again, you can put water. Water is just fine. You might just have to add a little bit of salt. Okay, I need to check the rice before I finish. So, the rice is almost there. I will stir it. Remember, there's some kind of rice. Read the packaging if you're not familiar with how to cook the rice. There are some rice that say do not open after you cover it, because the rice splits in half and it's the most grainy deliciousness. But if you open the rice too soon, it will become a mush. So make sure you measure your water and measure the rice. So This rice is looking good. This is a long grain basmati rice. It's still, you can go just a little bit more. I can lower it down. And here I'm going to add the beef stock into the mushrooms. The reason why I add the beef stock, I find that mushrooms already have a meaty flavor. They taste like, I guess, vegetarian meat, if you want to call it like that, but it's not really that. But it has a meaty flavor to me. So when I started to add beef stock, but if you don't eat meat, you can add the vegetable stock in it and let the mushrooms now just simmer. Okay. Here are the mushrooms. I will now put this on low and cover it down and let that just, as Rachel Ray used to say, hang out, or let it just marinate for a little while. I'm gonna check the curry now again. Okay, it's good. So here's the curry. This is looking like a lot of food. So to turn this into a 2-day meal, I am gonna add a potato and a half to this. Let me taste it again. Oh, it's so good. Yep, this has about 10 more minutes, so I am going to add 2 potatoes to that. I peeled 1.5 potatoes. That's what I had in the fridge. And then remember I told you I added a half, more like 3/4 of a carrot in the rice, which is ready to turn off now. So I took the rest of that carrot, instead of leaving it in the fridge in the, you know, the drawer like we normally do, I'm gonna add it to the curry as well, because that goes nicely. And Anaya likes carrots. Luke loves potatoes, so okay, I'm going to do the next dish. Remember, I am making 3 to 4 side dishes and 2 proteins. So the rice is finished, the chicken is just about finished, the asparagus is in the oven, the sauteed mushrooms are almost done. I will give them just another maybe 2 minutes, and then I'm going to do some okra. For the okra, I am also going to use the green seasoning. Check out my video on green seasoning if you want to know what that gold magic is. This is a tip I forgot to mention. Never ever ever put a dirty spoon or a wet spoon in the green seasoning. Once you finish making it and you put it in its airtight container, never put a dirty spoon or a wet spoon in it, because it will spoil it, as my family like to say, and it really does. It doesn't last as long. It's almost like, I guess, you've introduced new bacteria to it or something new to it. So no wet spoons and no dirty spoons. So I would not do this and decide, oh, I need a little more, and take it from there. No, that's a no-no. You would mess up this whole batch of green seasoning. So here we are with the okra. This one, instead of sauteing it in like a little bit of olive oil, I will put it on the okra first, because the okra, again, is very porous. I'll put a little bit more. It's very porous. So if you get all of this seasoning inside, I have an Indian friend. She taught me how to make like this toasted okra, which I had never had before. And since I came to Florida, I had fried okra, which I never had before, which was very good. But this one, because I'm making more of a, I would say almost Indian-ish, Caribbean-ish meal, this one I am going to make it like a stew. It's going to be a little bit more moist. So now that your burners are getting a little bit filled, this is my trick for that. I have what's called pot rest. Christmas or Halloween early in the year. Which one you want? I'm going to go with Halloween. So you take a hot pot. The rice is finished and you move it off the stove. Results in more space on the stove. So now I am going to get the pan for the okra. I am going to rotate now. Once I'm finished with a dish, I rotate it to the back, because you rather work here than work here. It's kind of awkward. So I'll turn that on, turn it down on low. The mushrooms only need a couple more minutes, and put it in. I'm going to put this now on the burner. I'm now going to add just a little drizzle. I don't have any butter, I forgot to get butter for whatever reason. I would have put a little bit of butter because that has a different flavor than the oil. But this is how we improvise. You don't have butter, so what you going to do? Use a little bit of oil. Big deal. So I'll let that heat up a little bit. If I had butter, I would have put butter as the fat agent or the frying agent or whatever you want to call it in the okra. So it has a slightly different flavor that none of the other meals have because I haven't put butter in any of the other meals. And then with the asparagus, you know that sesame oil, coconut oil, I even have avocado oil. They all have a different flavor. So that's another way to add a different flavor into your different dishes. So the oil is warm. The oil is hot now. You hear? If I had just a little bit of butter, I would have put a little bit of butter in that to saute. I put some chicken stock in the chicken. I put some beef stock in the rice, but I'm just going to add a little bit of water in the okra. So I'm going to add a little bit of water in the okra. This was fresh okra, so it needed a little bit of time to cook. So I'm going to cover this bad boy down and I'm going to start on the next dish. I am going to fry some chicken. Even though I know fried food is not good for you, one little piece of fried chicken as a treat on your plate of a healthy meal is not a bad thing. It's not a big deal. So my children like it, so I'm going to fry some chicken. So I have the flour, I have the spices again, which is 3. You can put whatever flavor palette you want. If you want lemon chicken, you put the lemon chicken spices. If you want jerk chicken, you put the jerk chicken spices. If you want Spanish seasoning, you could put the sazon or whatever flavor palette you want. You can put it, or you can put just some salt in the flour and then you add a sauce after. I'm gonna lower this down a bit. I have the okra on this burner. The chicken, let me try that while the oil heats up. Normally I will use the olive oil, but for frying, olive oil can't take the heat like that without burning, and it's not good. You don't want to waste all of that expensive oil to fry chicken. So I'll use canola oil. So I'm going to fry this now. I'm going to stir the chicken now. Now that the chicken is almost done, you got to kind of pay attention to it. Sauce is so good. The potatoes are still a little hard for the amount of gravy that I have here. So this time around, because I said earlier that the pepper content was a little high, I'm just going to put water. I'm trying to drop it a little bit. It's so good. Oh, this is very good. So adding in this cup of water will allow the curry now to simmer again. By the time it gets back to the level of gravy that it just had before I put the water, it's done. The chicken is already done. It's just really time for the potatoes to boil. So here's the chicken. I can lower this down now. I can actually feel it. Let me check the pepper, the mushrooms. Yeah, that just needs to dry down. And the okra. Yeah, the okra, it just went on, so it's starting to let out all of its slimy juices. It's almost done. And the asparagus, that's almost done as well. So far we have completed all of the dishes. 2 proteins. I'm going to do the second one right now, and 3 side dishes, and the rice. I took the rice off so I can get more space on the stove. Okay, so I'm going to combine the spices in the flour and stir it. Some people use a bag. You can use a Ziploc bag, but I didn't have any of the large ones this time around. Or you can use a brown bag. A brown bag is easy too. And then you just fry it and then you toss that bag. But I didn't have the large one, so it didn't make sense putting it in a small one. So we also taste our flour. It needs a little bit more salt. Now that curry is almost done, that last leg of it, I like to squeeze a half a lime in it. So I'm cooking all of these dishes simultaneously. I'm, you know, bouncing between all of them. And then I'll give it one more stir again. It'll just have that hint of citrus freshness. So good. So that's done. So now I want to test the oil. So I'm going to take one small piece and I'm going to dredge it in flour. Yep, it's ready. Okay, I'm just putting the flour in. I'm going to lower this heat now. I'm putting the flour and the chicken in to fry. I wasn't really good at frying chicken, but someone showed me a trick. If you cover the chicken, you put it on medium after it's like at a high heat, you put it on medium and you actually cover it. You know, like if you ever had KFC, it steams the chicken. And you leave it open when you turn it over if you're not deep frying it. So that way it gets really crispy. So I learned that trick. Okay, I've put all of the fried chicken in. This is going to be ready in about 12 to 15 minutes. So, but I'm going to close it for 10 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes, and then I'm going to flip it and leave it without the lid. So I'm going to let that sit there. I'm going to check the mushrooms one more time. This is just about done. The chicken, yeah, about 5 minutes more. I didn't taste the okra. Very good. It doesn't need any salt. And the asparagus should be done. Yep. The asparagus are finished. Roasted asparagus. Close that up. Turn off the oven. Lower this down. I'm going to come back in 5 minutes. And these 3 dishes should be done. I'm going to turn this over and then I'm going to pick up the kids and I'll show you the final meal at the end. Okay everyone, I have finished our dinner for today. I've done the sauteed mushrooms. We have carrots and rice. We have sauteed okra. We have a curry with potatoes and carrots. We have asparagus, the grilled asparagus, which is Jordan's favorite. And I put in the oranges to just add some freshness, something that was not cooked. So, you guys ready for dinner?
Yeah.
Are you hungry?
No.
No, you're not hungry? So thank you all for watching. Thank you for tuning in and staying with me this whole day while I prepared dinner for my family. Gaby, say bye-bye.
No.
He's not happy. He's hungry. So
There's just a little bit of juices.
there's just a little bit of juices. Dishes. Those are 5 different dishes. Did you hear? He said that's a little bit of dishes.
If you like this video, give this a thumbs up.